Sophia Nelson is an award-winning author and journalist. She describes herself as a moderate conservative and evangelical Christian who has worked as legal counsel for the Republican Party, as well as New Jersey Governor Christine Todd Whitman.
Well, Sophia Nelson has previously run for Congress and was a Republican insider, but ultimately decided to leave politics and the party. Recently, she's been very vocal about advocating for women of colour in the Me Too debate, and although she is a gun owner, she believes in gun control. Well, Sophia is in Australia to appear at the Sydney Opera House's All About Women Festival, and she joins us now in the studio. Sophia, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
You're here for the All About Women Festival to talk about it on a panel called Grabbing Back Women in the Age of Trump. How would you assess the age of Trump for women?
You gotta love the grabbing back title, right? President Trump at home has really shaken things up. And I actually, it's ironic. His election brought a lot of division to the country, but it's awakened women in a way I've never seen in my lifetime. So to answer your question, I think that the age of Trump is actually going to be a good age for women. How ironic, because women are awake in the sense that they're like, we are not going to tolerate sexual harassment anymore. We're not going to tolerate less pay when we're more educated. We're not going to tolerate certain things that have gone on forever. And Trump is like the poster child for waking women up, not just, I think, at home, but here in Sydney and London and throughout the world.
That's interesting, because I was going to ask you, do you despair about politics at the moment? But it sounds as though, in fact, you're going to fight.
Well, look, we're Americans. We're a great republic. We're the last great republic, I like to say, and I hope we stay that way. But I think that we're optimistic at home because we're seeing, in Virginia, where I live, we just had a historic election in 2017 where women ran for office who had never even held office before and brought the Republican-controlled state house now to within one vote. They flipped. The governorship is now a Democrat, although we had one. But the Republicans used to run Virginia, and it has become a Obama purple state, I would say. Hillary carried Virginia. It was the only southern state she carried. But I think that women are more engaged now than ever. And I think men are actually paying attention in a different way, too.
The Me Too movement has certainly caused waves. How do you assess that movement, and would you like to see any changes to it?
Well, one of the things that you talked about in your opening, I formulated the hashtag #UsToo for women of color. Me Too is a very important movement whose time is beyond come. You've got Oprah, you have Reese Witherspoon, so it has a lot of A-list personalities, but I'd like to see us actually come up with some comprehensive things we're going to do to change things. Movements are great, marches are great, but what are we going to change? How are we going to get equal pay for equal work? How are we going to make sure that men, our brothers, our sons, our nephews are at the table and that they understand that this behavior is not what we need them to participate in? I think if we're not talking to men in this debate, we've kind of missed the mark. I mean, I don't know what you think about that, but I think that we have to have the men at the table to help them realize this isn't going to go down like this anymore. Harvey Weinstein and Donald Trump and whoever else.
You talk about women of colour, African Americans. Do you feel as though an opportunity was perhaps missed during the Obama presidency that could be taken up now?
That's a tough question. I've covered the Obamas. I like them personally. But yeah, I do think, and I think if you asked any African American and we were being fair, we'd say that there are things we wanted to see him do. I think because he was the first black president, I think it was a difficult balancing act for him. Bill Clinton, for example, far more effective with African American causes, and Hillary Clinton probably would have been also. She was very vocal on things that President Obama wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. So do I think there's an opportunity to miss? Yeah, we probably could have done more, but my hope is that we'll get a woman president at some time. You guys already had a woman prime minister, right? One? Have you had more than one? One. We're behind the great America, the great liberator, all things we like to say about ourselves. We're not there yet with respect to women.
The other big controversial issue in the United States at the moment is guns, the issue of guns and gun control. You used to be a member of the NRA, but you no longer have that membership. Why?
Well, the shooting in the church that took place last December in Texas, or November, very upsetting to me that man could walk in there and do that, but then to bring it forward to Parkland and what happened, and then Sandy Hook, and you begin to say to yourself, it is guns. Anyone that says people kill people, yes, that's true, but I can do a lot less damage with a bat or with a knife than I can with a weapon that can spray some 40, 50, 100 bullets in a matter of seconds, right? So I believe in the Second Amendment strongly. I grew up in a house with guns. We have guns in our home. and we're going to keep them that way, but we don't have AR-15s, we don't have AK-47s. You don't need one to protect you. You need a good old-fashioned shotgun and a handgun that you're well trained with, and you pray to God you never have to use it. But I think that we're going to have to deal with this gun control issue. Now, President Trump looked like he was heading down the right path. Then he has a dinner with the NRA, and now he's hedging the age, the background checks, certain things that are simple, that if we can't agree on that in America, you guys here in Sydney, you had this problem years ago and you fixed it. You took some pretty draconian measures. I don't think we do those in America, but you guys don't have the gun violence we have either, so.
But as you say, it takes political leadership. That appears to be lacking, certainly as far as President Trump is concerned.
Absolutely. I mean, he talked a good game with all the members of Congress and the senators, but then he flipped. The NRA is very powerful at home. The Second Amendment with our Bill of Rights is very sacrosanct to who we are as Americans, the right to keep and bear arms. I get it. I support it. But I think that we have to get serious about these kids. We can't have kids having drills in school to not be murdered while they're kindergartners or fifth graders or high schoolers. It's pretty ugly, and I think we have to deal with it.
Do you think the American public is moving beyond the NRA here? Are the calls growing louder, particularly from young people?
Look at what corporate America did in America. You have Delta Airlines, you have Dick's Sporting Goods, you have Walmart saying we're not selling guns to anybody that's under 21 anymore. You have major companies now cutting off the NRA. They won't take their memberships. I think that these kids at Parkland have changed the game, and God bless them. They're like the civil rights, my parents' generation, that marched for their rights. They're saying, we're not going to take this line down, and I think the polls indicate that the public is way ahead of it. And people like me, moderate Republicans who believe in the core principles, but also understand that you got to be flexible and you have to legislate. No one's going to take my guns. No one's going to take our guns, but some of the guns we don't need. That's just my opinion.
So let's go back to where we started as far as politics in America is concerned. Where do your allegiances lie, and do the parties need to change? Do you feel both the Republicans and the Democrats have failed to move with the times?
Well, as a journalist now myself, I try to be independent like we all should be, but we all have proclivities one way or the other. I'm certainly what I call an independent conservative, and I'm okay with that, but I think both the parties are not doing their job right now. They've become creatures of the lobby. They've become creatures of special interest. Whether it's the guns or tobacco or whatever you want it to be, they're there and they're not doing their job, and these kids have called them out. And I think that 2018, the midterms, I think you're going to see some big upheaval in America.
Well, that's right. In the end, the voters have the say on who leads the country. So if the voters are gaining that momentum, then will we see political change?
I think you're going to see big political change come November 2018. Respect to President Trump with these investigations, with the special counsel, his son-in-law now in hot water, his daughter in hot water. It's just been like a reality TV show in America. I don't mean any disrespect to the president, but it's just not something we've ever seen happen before.
Sophia, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.